Don't you just love when Muslims prove they are completely out of touch with reality when saying this?
Christians, everything that I see and associate with them is full of hate. On every single one of my social media platforms, they're always hating. They're not even spreading love.
The underlying beef between Christians and Muslims is very one-sided because Muslims do not hate Christians. Muslims don't even hate the Christian religion. But why do Christians, not all Christians, but most Christians seem to bash the religion of Islam so hard?
Well, let's start with how the Quran speaks of Jews and Christians. From Surah 98 verse 6, that calls us people of the scriptures the worst of creatures, to Surah 9 verse 29, which demands the Jews and Christians to pay the jizya tax in willing submission to avoid execution. And that's not to mention how Muslims amputate, butcher, and distort the biblical scriptures to fit their own narrative, such as the Gospel of Mark chapter 10 verse 18, which has Jesus simply asking the rich man, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone." That isn't Jesus denying to be God or good, because we all know Muslims will never quote Jesus saying, "I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep," which is actually an exclusive title for God in the Old Testament according to the book of Psalms chapter 23 verse 1. But now imagine if Christians did the same thing to the Quran using Surah 19 verse 33, where Jesus says, "Peace be upon me the day that I was born, and the day that I die, and the day I shall be raised alive." You see, Jesus was crucified and resurrected from the dead. But that would be purposely insulting the context of the Quran. And yet, that is exactly what Muslims do to the biblical scriptures. Then we have the mainstream media and how they avoid the announcement of Christian persecution inflicted specifically by Muslims, such as the 14th of February 2025, where 70 Christians got beheaded in the name of Allah during a church service in the African Congo. Then there's the high demand of entitlement commanded by Muslims, such as a Five Guys restaurant up in Birmingham which no longer sells bacon or alcohol. Nobody else gets an option of choice. Speaking of Birmingham, a very popular gentleman by the name of Shakil Afsar was recorded saying this on a recent podcast.
Okay, you know the other argument is, okay, so if you don't like it here, go to your own country.
We're not going nowhere. We are here to stay. Like I say, we're not here to take part. We're here to take over.
The teachings of Islam is set upon a foundation that disrespects those who believe and follow in the biblical scriptures, with Muslims placing themselves on a high ground of academia. Taking all of this into consideration, it shouldn't be no surprise why the patience of some Christians are running very short.